So in your experience, what role does self-love and body positivity play in someone's ability to cultivate a wardrobe that boosts their confidence?
I remember growing up where I just felt like I wasn't seen within these marketing campaigns, and it knocks your confidence. What we were talking about before, it knocks your confidence and makes you think you need to be different, and you end up buying all the stuff to try and be the person that they're marketing. And when we're looking to the outside and constantly looking for inspiration outside, we end up sometimes adopting someone else's personal style, or society telling us you need to be like this, or you need to dress like this, or you need to eat like this. There are so many issues there, and we have the power to make the choices. So I think when I think about fashion, is that trending sort of look, what is happening in the catwalks and things like that. Whereas I think your style is like that everyday thing that you want to encapsulate. If we, like you said, if we can make those changes or learn about our personal style, we can make so many better and more informed decisions in our wardrobe, which will reflect us better, make us feel better, but also help the planet as well from a sustainability. When I work with someone, it's not a case that I'm getting you to spend loads of money, it's actually giving you the tools and the tips and the inspiration and guidance to make better choices for both your time, your money and the planet as well.
Neelam, welcome to the Shades of Life podcast. Let's talk fashion with you today. So, fashion is something we wear every day, and as such, it is a big part of our lives. We love it for its creativity and many aspects. We also know that fashion is one of the biggest pollutants, contributing significantly to waste, water pollution, or carbon emissions, to cite a few. Because fashion is a big part of your life as a personal stylist, I wanted to start by asking you, what are the fashion issues that touch you the most today?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, working as a personal stylist, I come across so many different clients, and majority of the time I work with women, and one of the biggest issues is us feeling like we constantly need to keep buying new clothing. And I think the sustainability angle of clothing is where I really struggle with this. And the message I'm trying to, impart on my clients is that less is actually more. So I think that's one of the biggest struggles in terms of buying quality. I think that's a big aspect within the fashion space. And then also our approach to things like trends, feeling like we always need to have the next item of clothing. So I think that's my biggest goal when I'm working with clients, is to impart that kind of knowledge and wisdom onto them.
Okay, perfect. So we are definitely going to talk more about these different topics together today. And I think many people who will watch the podcast will definitely recognize themselves. I certainly do. So outside of this first bigger question, I also wanted to ask you, looking at the more intimate relationship we have with fashion, what relationship do you think people have with their own wardrobe? Do you think they even think about it?
I think consciously they're not really aware, but subconsciously, so many clients will go into their wardrobe and say, I have nothing to wear, but yet they have a wardrobe full of clothes, yet nothing to wear. And that's often their relationship with their clothing and with their wardrobes. They'll keep adding on new items, keep investing in new pieces, but again, they'll have that same thing. I have nothing to wear. And, they'll attend a new event and think, okay, I need to buy a new piece for that new event. And then you end up with a really, really full wardrobe, but yet nothing to wear. So yeah, definitely. I think they're not consciously aware of it, but yeah, it's all happening.
Yeah, so that's funny because, I was talking of intimate relationship, and obviously we live very close to our wardrobe, it's in the same home. But as you say, yeah, there is always this feeling, I have nothing to wear. Do you think it's because we don't have a strong relationship enough with the clothes we buy, and we tend to buy, but we don't reflect enough on it?
Yeah, definitely. So the way I work with my clients is on understanding the foundations of your personal style. And that really works with understanding yourself first. So your body, your relationship with your body, how you wear colour. If you do wear colour, are you choosing the right colours for you? And also your personality, like how are you wanting to reflect your personality through your wardrobe? And a lot of people don't think about this. And like you said, you know, it's such an intimate relationship. We wear these clothes to reflect who we are every day. They're like a second skin, but yet we don't often see it like that.
Okay, so we are going to spend time further on in the discussion about how you advise your clients to really give tips to people who are listening to us today. But I wanted to start by asking you some questions more around sustainability. So when you look at the whole fashion landscape in the context of sustainability, what are the solution areas that matter the most to you, where you feel you want to make a bigger difference? And I'm asking you because obviously, you know, fashion is a very big industry. It covers so many different things. There are so many issues relating to sustainability that we need to tackle. Some people, for example, like to focus on materials and making sure to raise awareness of biodegradable materials, because so many of us today wear fashion made of derivatives of fossil fuels, such as polyester, for example, is a big one of them, and people are not always aware of it. Some people like to focus on alterations and repairs to encourage garment longevity. Some people like to focus on made to order to fight overproduction, because we have so many fashion stocks, so much production of garments every year. I think it's more than 100 billion garments every year today. So what are your own areas of predilection, the solutions that you would like to bring to the table?
So I think one of the big areas is looking at your items to understand if there's anything you can do to revamp them. So whether that is mending or repairing items that have holes or bubbles or things like that. I really encourage my clients to either find good tailors, find repair workshops. So sometimes it's a skill that we can actually start to learn ourselves, learning how to sew, learning how to sew on buttons, repair holes, going, like I mentioned, going to workshops or masterclasses where we can learn this. There's loads of cool things in some cities around the UK where you can go and just learn a new skill. And also do it in a community of other people that are looking to, you know, have a more sustainable approach to their wardrobe. As I mentioned before, also alteration. So often we have pieces in our wardrobe which might not fit us very well. So if you can look to, you know, sort out the hem on your trousers or take it in slightly if it doesn't fit you quite so well. Just using your wardrobe to its maximum, not just seeing, okay, this item doesn't fit me, doesn't look good on me, and I'm just going to discard it, but just finding new ways in which you can use your pieces. And I think within that as well, being from a British Indian background, I have almost like two different wardrobes. I have an Indian wardrobe and I have a Western wardrobe, and I really like to dip in and out of both of the wardrobes because I think that is also not a sustainable approach. By having these two wardrobes that we wear at two separate occasions, I quite like the idea of bringing them together.
Okay, that's really nice. Yeah, that definitely speaks to me because my babysitters when I was younger were actually tailors in France. And, you know, sometimes people associate alterations or repairs with something negative when actually it's part of a luxury fashion landscape, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost, you know, valorizing or valuing these professions because there are wonderful tailors everywhere of all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we need to use them and work with them more often because
it's like having a tailor-made piece, like
yeah, exactly.
customized you and your body shape.
Yeah,
I think
it's something that has been a bit forgotten, that it's nice to bring it back, really. So I also wanted to discuss fashion sustainability with you today, but under different angles that are not discussed very often in the context of sustainability. So I've got three topics I'd like to cover with you. One being body confidence, or feeling comfortable in our own bodies, and our own internal struggles impact us, but also ultimately fashion waste. like many people, for example, grapple with fluctuating weight and changing body shapes, leading to a constant need for wardrobe updates. So that links back nicely to what you were saying. So is it something the women or the people you've worked with have shared with you, or something you've observed? I actually don't know if you work with both men and women.
Majority of my clients are women, and just as humans in general, we go through so many changes in our body throughout life. And as women, we go through, if you go through pregnancy, if you go through menopause, the body is always fluctuating. So I think having an appreciation for that and an understanding of how the body is changing is really, really important, because otherwise we can just become frustrated with our wardrobes and think that they're not working for us. And we almost go to the stores and we think, okay, that item of clothing doesn't fit us, but actually it's not a case that our body needs to change. It's our approach to clothing that needs to change. So I think there's definitely a link between, like you mentioned, sustainability and the changing body, and not feeling like you constantly have to update your wardrobe, but again, making those tweaks if you can, tailoring, alterations, buying secondhand even if you can, or like swapping your clothes with friends or family. That's a great approach to it, just as your body is going through changes, especially when women are going through pregnancy as well. Like it's obviously like around a 9-month period, and we can end up investing in lots and lots of pieces of clothing. But actually, if you were to speak to a friend, maybe borrow some pieces, that's a really great, like, more sustainable approach to your wardrobe. So there's definitely links between like body confidence and our sustainability approach and journey as well.
Yeah, that's great. That covers a lot. I think also I do see this more and more, that, a lot of people are taking more ownership of their weight, because if you're not happy with it, then perhaps do something about it first before you buy clothes. Or sometimes we buy clothes that don't fit us, hoping it's going to fit us. But yeah, it's about taking ownership of our own bodies and doing something about it to feel good, right?
It's so true, taking ownership and also just forcing your body not to do things that don't feel right or don't feel aligned. I think we can be really hard on our bodies sometimes.
Yeah, and I hear people saying this quite often when it comes to social media or, other things, but like avoiding comparison, I guess, is important. Otherwise, you're always dreaming of having the body of someone else.
Exactly. We're all unique. You need to remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So another common scenario, Neelam, is when people buy clothes influenced by social media. We were just talking about it. But when they buy the same finds, perhaps they don't fit properly. And we know we all have different silhouettes, shapes, and we know that one size doesn't fit all. Yet, so many of us fall in the trap, and we know that a significant percentage of fashion waste stems from online returns. And unfortunately, that's perhaps something people are not so aware of, but when you create returns, you generate more emissions because obviously it uses transport, etc. But also a lot of the fashion that we return actually doesn't re-enter circulation and ends up in landfills or waste somehow. And that's really a shame. So again, makes us think that we need to think about what we buy first. So what has been your observation regarding this issue? Is it something you've seen often? People being lured to styles that don't fit them?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my biggest problems, I think, with social media. I think we are scrolling, finding new influences to follow, and we might cling on to someone's style. And we might really love their style, but that's not the case that their body shape is going to be the same as ours. And that's the problem with trends. Like, not every trend is going to be for you. So when I work with clients, I try to educate them on how to work to their body shape, understand the trends that actually will suit them, and to invest mindfully. So having more of that capsule wardrobe approach. And then if you want to lean into a trend, maybe starting off in a secondhand store if you can, because trends keep coming back around again, or investing in 1 or 2 pieces that you're going to still love after the trend has gone. So we see this in things like colours. I feel like colours always come around as a trend. So at the moment, I think we've got butter yellow as a big trend, and it's not the colour for everyone. It's not going to suit everyone, but everyone will be wearing it. And then what happens with that is we lose a bit of our originality and we lose who we are within that. Like, how do we want to express ourselves? if we're all following the same trends, we all end up expressing ourselves in the same way. And as you mentioned, with the sustainability impact as well, the impact of returns, the impact of just having so many clothes, and then, after that trend is gone, where are those pieces going? Trying to maybe pass them on to charity shops, sell them through Vinted, but that's not always possible, and they might end up in landfill. So there's a huge problem around trends and influencers and what influencers are trying to sell you. And I think it's being really mindful of what you're consuming. What media are you really consuming? And if you're looking at an influencer and they're selling something to you, you can't actually see the quality of an item. You can't see how it's actually going to look on you. The color might not always be the same. So I think it's just really something to be mindful of when looking to influencers.
Yeah, so many issues we see so often. I actually wonder if people need to find influencers with a similar body shape as them first to start with, or someone who has a similar style than the style that would actually fit you. You see what I mean?
Definitely. I think if you can find people with your shape, that's great, because it will just give you a bit of reassurance that what you're going to be investing in is actually going to work for you.
It's why it can be tempting when you see a really nice piece of clothing on someone. It just makes you want it, right? But it doesn't always mean it's the right choice for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so a third example of typical consumer behavior. We've all been there, so there's no shame on anybody, but I think it's good to discuss between us. So third example is impulse buying, with a strong emphasis on trends and newness. So individuals can fail to reflect adequately on their purchases. Fast fashion also often provides fleeting satisfaction, yet leads to regret. So do you think our society tends to encourage hasty buying decisions? And the big question is, do you think we can break free from the trend cycle, really?
Yeah. So we're definitely told to make hasty decisions. We're told to look out for your Black Fridays, your Cyber Mondays. We're constantly being pushed lots of marketing or flash sales they may run, buy it quickly. We just had Mother's Day and there were lots of sales for Mother's Day. So I think we are told that we're going to miss, like it's a fear of missing out, FOMO. People get the fear that they're going to miss out on something. So that's why they will go to that impulse buy and think they need the item. I think there is a way to break out of it. And this is why I really encourage my clients to think about the foundations of their style. Like, what is going to work for your body shape? What colours do you actually like? Don't just invest in the trend because, red was trending at one point, but not everyone likes red. Also thinking about your personality, like how is it that you want to come across to people? Like, what do you want to showcase? I think if you can start to make those connections and almost connect the dots, you can build up almost like a visual image of the style you want to create. And tools like Pinterest can be really useful for this to create mood boards of inspiration so that you can try to break away from those impulse buys. And even when I do wardrobe declutters with my clients, I'll do a tailored shopping list and I'll encourage them to just stick to that list. So we're not trying to divert away from the shopping list. We want to stick on that list because those are the gaps we've noticed within your wardrobe. And often they won't be trend led. I'll make sure that they're very kind of capsule pieces that are going to last them for a long time. So there are ways that you can do it, but it does take that mindful and a bit of a slower approach.
Yeah. I love the idea of your Pinterest board, I must say. It made me think when I see sometimes people recommending to do a vision board for the year, for your life. But I actually find it so interesting because I think that's what we are talking about with you today. It's taking a step back and projecting yourself and actually thinking about what do you want? What do you want to project? What do you want to happen? Your fashion choices fall into this, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's like that piece about visualization. I often do this in my workshops, in public workshops. I end with a visualization because I think I want people to go away thinking about what do I want my style to be? It can be a really fun process just if we take a bit of time instead of doing those impulse buys.
Exactly. Also wanted to bring up that I don't know if you've seen a difference as well, but There's still a lot of brands, and especially fast fashion brands, that bring collection so often, or new products so often, sometimes every day, sometimes every week. And it's quite a lot. And it's even quite hard to actually catch up, with all the newness they bring to market. Sometimes it just feels so crazy. But there has been the other side of the coin, and a lot of brands that have really taken a step back and have a much bigger consideration when it comes to clothing choices, and actually encourage you, like you were saying, to consider perhaps your foundations, having a capsule wardrobe, and that's interesting.
Really interesting. I think that approach of the latest like celebrity collaboration with brands and stuff, it can make you feel like you want the latest thing. But I think, like you said, on the flip side, there are a lot of black brands, especially your smaller brands, more independent brands that are trying to have that more sustainable approach, which I really love. And they're also more considerate about the materials they're using and things like that, which I think is really valuable.
Great. So we will trickle down on these issues throughout our conversation, but especially we will look at how you bring solutions through personal styling. But I'm curious, how would you describe fashion overall? We talked already about a number of topics, but how would you describe it overall? What does fashion mean to you? Because it's what you do every day.
I guess I feel like fashion is one side and then style is another side. So I think when I think about fashion is that trending sort of look, what is happening in the catwalks and things like that. Whereas I think your style is like that everyday thing that you want to encapsulate. And I think that's what I really love about the style aspect, because I think it's fusing elements of fashion, but mixing it with your identity. And that's what I really love about style. It's unique to you. So I think that's what it means to me. And that's what I like to work with my clients on, and what I like to do through my own style as well.
Yeah. So I can tell you I am all ears today, because I still have so much progress to do in this area myself. So we are going to get some great tips from you today.
There's always a lot to do. It's always
and we evolve as well as human beings, as you said very rightly earlier. You don't remain the same person, so that's also something to take into account. So Neelam, your journey into personal styling is actually really inspiring. How have your own experiences with identity and cultural influences shaped your own approach to fashion? So you did say you're playing with two cultures already, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's been a really big journey for me. And before, I used to have in my Western wardrobe, it was a sea of black, and that was my identity. So this was before I became a personal stylist. And then upon training as a personal stylist, I learned all about colour, I learned about the body, and the personality element. And I started also on my own personal journey of understanding my culture and my identity and who I really, really was. And I think this is when the two came together, and I realised that I think I had been denying a lot of my culture on the outset in the Western settings. I saw them as two separate things. And for me, it's been a huge, steep learning curve, but I've now started to really embrace the two as one and realise that I'm one person and I can fuse the two together. But there was that point in time where I think I was very lost in who I was, what my identity and place was. And I think my wardrobe kind of exasperated that more, because it was a sea of black. It was a sea of just Western pieces. But I've started to now fuse together things like some traditional elements from my Eastern wardrobe. Colour also is such a huge part of the Eastern world. So being able to bring that into my Western wardrobe is almost my nod to my culture, which I really love to do. So I think it's an evolving journey, but I'm really happy with where it's kind of going. And I think it's also informing a lot of my work and what I'm going on to do and how I work with my clients as well.
Do you know why your Western wardrobe was totally black? Was there a reason for that? Or
Yeah,
because you were not sure about what to wear in the Western way? I don't know.
I think I was hiding. I think I was a bit lost in my identity and who I was, and black felt like a safe colour which you could hide behind. And I wasn't sure of my place in the world as a British South South Asian, so black was like a bit of a barrier, and often with black we feel like it's slimming, it allows you to shrink and hide behind things. So often when you do go to charity stores and stuff, you'll see a lot of black. Even in the stores you'll see a lot of black, and a lot of the clothes that end up in landfill, I'm sure, are black as well.
Yeah, it's a popular color. You remind me someone I've known who would have a total black wardrobe.
Yeah.
That was so funny because, and she would say it herself, she would only buy black, like literally, because that was an easy choice.
Yeah.
I guess people can have different reasons, but
Yeah.
your wardrobe choices are interesting. It's telling something about you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, a very interesting question I find. How would you describe the level of style confidence in people based on your experience?
I think it's often quite low. I think, especially because I work a lot with women, I think that change in body shape often knocks people's confidence quite a lot. And like I said before, they almost feel like their bodies need to fit the clothing rather than the other way around. So I think that's where the struggle kind of comes. I think it's learning that, you know, our bodies do amazing things and we need to have a bit more of that respect and love for our bodies. And I think with the fast pace of fashion and wanting to always have the latest piece, that can feel really, really overwhelming when you are going through that battle of confidence and understanding who you are, especially when you're in places like the workplace and you have to dress in certain ways. That can like further add to that overwhelm.
Yeah. I really find we are touching such interesting topics here. Someone I was having lunch with this week actually was telling me, we've got to do with what we have rather than always looking at other people. And it was so true, because we do tend to always want something else than us, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's loving who we are and really getting to grips with our body and understanding all the amazing things it does. Like as women, if we go through pregnancy, like you're bringing a new life into the world, that's amazing. Like it's such a magical experience, but we can be so hard on our bodies during that journey.
Yeah, totally. When you were talking, I was actually thinking of who I know who has total style confidence. And for me, it's been more actually the models, I watch who do their own vlogs and that type of things, because fashion is part of their everyday. So they get to know themselves. They try clothes on probably much more than we do, right? But that's actually quite telling, because I think you're right. I mean, I can't really tell. I know many people who have big style confidence. When you actually meet someone with a very well-defined style, I actually love that. But it's actually quite rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rare to find that. I think because it is like encompassing so many different elements. It's being confident in yourself, it's being confident in your body, it's understanding the image you want to portray, being creative with it as well. I think people struggle with that creativity element, especially when it comes to, we spoke before about colour and black and just feeling like you're trapped in this neutral sort of phase, because I think neutrals have been such a huge kind of trend again. So I think finding someone with that overall confidence is amazing, and I think they carry that aura around them.
Yeah. And I think confidence is something very praised overall, whether it's fashion or something else. And we need more people like you to find that confidence and to give clues, tips, tricks, advice, recommendation, because we know confidence matters so much. We all talk about it for work, but it does matter with your own wardrobe, and everything links together.
Definitely.
So what do you believe is the biggest misconception people have about personal style?
I think with personal style, I feel like they think it's not achievable. I think people have this confusion again between fashion and style. So style is something that is, part of you and your life and a reflection of who you are. And fashion is obviously, like we've said before, that kind of, trend-led or what's on the catwalks. So I think people get confused in terms of having this personal style that is a reflection of them and not knowing how to find that identity within it. And when we're looking to the outside and constantly looking for inspiration outside, we end up sometimes adopting someone else's personal style. And it can feel a bit uncomfortable when we do that. It can feel like we're not ourselves if we're wearing things that don't really feel good on us.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the confusion comes with personal style. I think it's realizing that it is about you, just you, and it's uniquely you, not what everyone else is doing. So yeah, I believe that that's where that confusion almost lies.
Yeah. Almost, I mean, when I ask a question to myself, the first thing strangely that comes to mind for me is like, it's not something for me. I don't know why.
I know, that's interesting.
And, you know, when I think of what you do, Neelam, as a personal stylist, I'm like, I've never used one, even if I'm actually very strongly thinking of doing at least a color analysis. I don't know why I'm totally obsessed with it right now, because I know I've done some color choices that don't fit me well, like white for some reason, it doesn't work on me. And I've got white in my wardrobe that I never wear. So that's a bad fashion choice because I never wear it, basically. But yeah, I think we also need to give ourselves a permission and also think like personal style does matter because it covers so many areas. It covers your confidence. It's also, because that's also part of the topic of today, it allows you to create less waste, less pollution. So just through these angles, it actually is very, very important. And we need to give ourselves the permission to actually look at our personal style and perhaps have a personal stylist.
I think people often think it's just for, the rich and famous or celebrities.
Yeah.
But my approach is very much for the day-to-day woman, because I think if we, like you said, if we can make those changes or learn about our personal style, we can make so many better and more informed decisions in our wardrobe, which will reflect us better, make us feel better, but also help the planet as well from a sustainability approach. I don't like, when I work with someone, it's not a case that I'm getting you to spend loads of money. It's actually giving you the tools and the tips and the inspiration and guidance to make better choices for both your time, your money, and the planet as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important.
So people who are listening to us, don't wait to go to the Oscars or the Met Gala. You can look into your personal style and you will do good for the planet at the same time. So you mentioned your business is driven by a desire to help others grow in inner and outer confidence. Can you expand on the idea of how does assisting someone in finding their personal style tie into their self-empowerment?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I try to work on with people is that inner connection to their body. I think that's the main place we have to start, because we often have so many hookups there, or misconceptions there, or society telling us you need to be like this, or you need to dress like this, or you need to, eat like this. There are so many issues there, and we have the power to make the choices. I think that's where the empowerment comes. It's our choice, it's our life. And I think when I work with clients, that's what I try to give them back. It's within your control. You can make the choices as to how you're showing up, what you're wearing, what colours you're wearing. You don't have to let, big brands and their marketing strategies dictate that. It can be based on your likes. And I think it's going back to that. It's going back to understanding, what do you actually want? How do you actually want to be seen? I think that empowerment comes from choice and giving choice back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we've been told this enough or told this at all sometimes, that, everything is a choice. And actually self-empowerment, for me, it's one of the biggest topics almost of the podcast and the magazine, because if we all have more agency, we all make better choices, because at the end of the day, we have freedom of choice, and that really matters. So Neelam, I wanted to ask you to know you a bit better. There is fast fashion as we know it, there is luxury fashion, vintage fashion, and so on. What type of fashion do you advocate for, if any? what clothes or brands do you work with or do you like to work with? Or is it more a question of you adapting to your clients? I don't know, but tell us about it.
Mixture. As I mentioned before, I'm looking to like work more on fusing my wardrobes together and even the clients I work with. So I think trying to look for more independent brands with maybe any influence from the Eastern world is something that I really, really love. I think that kind of vintage element is always really interesting as well, and being able to go to charity stores or vintage stores to get things that, you know, no one else is going to be wearing. I really love that approach, that it's unique. The other day I was in central London. I wore head to toe in pink. It was a really grey day. And I went into stores in Chelsea and I had about 5 people say, oh, you're looking really bright today. And no one else was wearing any colour. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it that I was seen in that way. So for me, it's about brands that, you know, have that colourful edge. I like brands with colour. I like a bit of that influence from my culture as well. So that's kind of the direction I'm taking my own personal style in, but also with how I work with clients, I listen to what they want and let them guide me on that style personality that they want to achieve. And in terms of brands I want to work with, and I try to work with, it's brands that are trying to make a difference, brands that are wanting to have an impact, telling a story as well. I think our clothing is a way in which we can tell a story. And I love brands that are trying to do that. Any type of storytelling through their campaigns is really empowering, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Do you want to cite any or?
I won't mention any, but yeah.
I think that gives us a flavor already. So fashion can be quite overwhelming for many. What is your approach to fabrics, prints, colors? You were talking about the importance of color for you, or silhouettes in general. And what practical first steps do you recommend your clients to help them build their own personal style? You know, if I start working with you, where do we start with these elements?
Yeah. So we start all the way from the beginning and we look at your body first. So that is understanding your body shape. So what are your proportions like in your body? Do you carry more weight on the top of your body or maybe the bottom of the body? And do you have generous curves or things like that? Are there any elements of your body that you really struggle to style or feel a bit uncomfortable with? So for women, a lot of the time we may feel uncomfortable with the chest area and how to style that part of the body, or maybe the lower half of the body. So it's really getting you to grips with your shape. Understanding your shape is one of the biggest tools that will help you in your wardrobe. The next thing is all around colour, as I mentioned, colour, print, pattern. I work really closely. I do colour analysis sessions because I think colour has the power to change so much of life. Like, I think it can turn a bad day around. It has such an impact on psychology, colour does, and how we can feel in a day. So if one day you wake up and you're just not feeling good, if you put on, you know, a black piece of clothing, it's probably not really going to do anything to boost your mood. If you were to wear a colour like yellow, yellow helps to release serotonin into the body. You'll instantly feel a bit happier and a bit lighter. It's why when the sun is out, we instantly feel happier. We were just talking about that before, weren't we? Everyone's in such a better mood when it's sunny. So yeah, colour again is a really important topic, and also print and pattern. I think you touched on that, but how can we add print and pattern? What parts of the body should we be wearing them on? I think that's important. And then also accessorizing. I think accessorizing is where you take your style to the next kind of level and where you start to explore your personality within your accessories, because they can elevate your basics to the next level. Yeah. So everyone can have the same kind of basic capsule wardrobe, but your accessories can do a lot of the work to take it up to the next level. So yeah, there's lots of ways that we can work together to help you find that style that you really want to go for.
I feel we can learn so much from you, oh my God. So let's talk timelessness, because apparently in fashion it's actually one of the most sought words, you know, when people search for clothing as well. So that's actually really interesting. Or when fashion brands put timeless in, you know, their website, etc. That's what people are really driven there. I've worked in fashion, so this is only why I know. But with a strong emphasis today on trends and newness, as we discussed, often perpetuated by influencers, how do you guide your clients to build a timeless or a more timeless wardrobe that reflects their personal style? How do you approach this element?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I do like wardrobe declutters. So when we go through this sort of process, we take all of the elements from your foundation, so your body shape, your colours, your personality, and we start looking at your wardrobe as like a whole, like entity. So we'll go through piece by piece of clothing, and I encourage people to do this, regular declutters, and understand what's in your wardrobe. Once you understand what's in your wardrobe, you can spot any gaps, and as I mentioned, you can create shopping lists. When you create these shopping lists, I would really recommend you do them not trend-led, but those key pieces that are really missing from your wardrobe that are going to complete outfits. I think that's the important thing. Often we feel like we're missing a piece. So investing in that one piece can help you to maybe complete 5 different outfits. Not investing in one piece that you're going to wear on one occasion that you're never going to see again, because it's going to go to the bottom of the wardrobe. So I think that's a way to get really timeless with your wardrobe. Pieces that you know are missing are the ones to invest in, and also thinking about longevity of pieces. So when I do like go for personal shops with clients, we'll look at things like fabric compositions, we'll consider the silhouettes. Are they trending silhouettes, or are they classic silhouettes that aren't going to go out of style? The same with your color palettes as well. So yeah, I encourage my customers to invest more if they can, but in less items of clothing. I think that's the big shift that a lot of people need to make, is buying better but buying less.
Yeah, I totally identify with this. I actually think that's the stage where I'm at, to find these pieces that can complement so much that I have, and that's more what I'm looking at the moment. Not to buy many, but look at what I have and what's the piece missing, which is usually like a shirt that I can put over many dresses, or that type of thing that I would wear all the time. You see what I mean?
Like multi-purpose pieces. Like also thinking about your lifestyle is really important. Like, do you go to a corporate office or do you work from home? What is your social life like? Are you out like for like bars and restaurants, or are you at home more, or do you go for long walks? Making sure your wardrobe works according to your lifestyle is also really important, because often we have so many pieces in there that are for really fancy occasions which we never go to.
I see. So yeah, totally. Yeah, we do need to be realistic about our lifestyle. I actually think I've made that mistake a lot before, because I actually really do love dresses. But I ended up having so many dresses that I was really short on more casual outfits, like for the weekend and going on walks. And yeah,
One of the dresses on your
that's funny, but yeah, that's the type of things that we need to think about. So going back to a topic we discussed earlier, but I'd like to look at it more under the angle of what would you perhaps recommend more personally to people. So in your experience, what role does self-love and body positivity play in someone's ability to cultivate a wardrobe that boosts their confidence? And yeah, if it's not there, perhaps that's where people need to start, as we said earlier.
Yeah, I think they go really hand in hand, self-love and your body positivity, body confidence. Some people may want to go more towards body neutrality. It depends on your kind of stance and take. But I think it's so I've been on my own journey through body positivity. I did not like my body very much when I was growing up. I was quite overweight when I was younger, and I had a constant battle with my body. It was only till I got into my 30s that I really took time to like understand what that relationship was, what my triggers were, and what any trauma was, I guess, that I was holding or storing within the body. So I think it comes from a lot of self-work and inner work. If you can, journal, if you can move your body, I think movement is really important, and connecting to your body. I think that's where like that self-love and body positivity comes from, like realizing what your body can do, like all the amazing things it can do. Words of affirmation are also really great. So if you are feeling like low in confidence, what can you say to yourself every day in the morning that's going to change that perspective? I think also curating what you're consuming. So curating your social media if you can, thinking about what you're consuming in terms of movies or music or things like that. What switches can we make to ensure we're consuming the right things that are going to keep us on track towards that self-love and positivity? But the journey will look different for everyone. But I think it's a really important journey to do as soon as you can, because it will change. It's changed my perspective on things so much in the last few years.
Yeah, I guess it's part of the whole experience of life, isn't it? Yeah, we all have our own journey with it, that for sure.
Yeah.
So Neelam, as you have worked with many personal clients, but also brands within the fashion, beauty or wellness sectors, how can brands adopt more sustainable practices while empowering their customers to make more informed fashion decisions? Do you think today brands do that enough? And if not, what would you suggest in this area?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more transparency on their supply chain. I think things like workers and that kind of environment where they're sourcing items from, I think brands can do so much better. And I think in terms of also their marketing campaigns, I think I understand the need for them to make profits, but I think there needs to be a greater understanding of the fashion landscape for brands and addressing these issues that we're seeing in terms of sustainability, in terms of emissions. What can brands do to educate their customers on things like returns that you don't really see on pages, on product description pages when you're going to order something? What is that return going to end up doing? Like you said, is it going to go back into circulation, or is it going to end up in landfill? I think the way in which they're talking to customers is really, really important, and that marketing tactic or habit, I think that needs to change, and there needs to be a switch to more education around it. And also reviewing their own internal practices as well. What can they be doing differently? Whether that's through the design process, production process, where can things be improved? I think there needs to be constant quality checks and improvement in that process.
Absolutely. And if there was one thing that you would wish to see more in the fashion industry, what would it be outside of everything you've mentioned?
I would like to see, I've touched on this a little bit, but I think more culture within the fashion landscape. So I think more culture, but also representation. So I think representation has changed over the last few years, but whether that's body shapes, whether that's different skin colours, whether that's different hair types, I think that representation is really, really important. We need to be seen. I remember growing up where I just felt like I wasn't seen within these marketing campaigns, and it knocks your confidence. What we were talking about before, it knocks your confidence and makes you think you need to be different, and you end up buying all the stuff to try and be the person that they're marketing. So I think representation is really, really important.
Yeah, I must say, I've always thought it's just so crazy, the lack of diversity we've seen for so long. It seems crazy to me. I've never understood it. And obviously I'm white and I've been living in white countries, all my life, so I don't have the same experience as you, but I can get it. But it almost also feels a little bit, because there has been a lot of progress, in diversity talks, etc. But sometimes it almost feels something a bit forced. You see what I mean? Like you have to do diversity, which is crazy, because I find diversity so beautiful. That's one of the things that attract me the most on this planet, how diversity is, both in people, in landscape, etc. And to me, that's crazy that that's not something we embrace naturally. I'm not saying this being naive, but that's really something I don't understand, because I think diversity is so beautiful.
Like you said, it feels like sometimes it's forced and the industries are forced to do it, but it actually needs to be a natural part of it. And yeah, definitely within the fashion landscape.
So at this point in the conversation, if we summarize, what are the most common fashion mistakes that you think hinder people from embracing their true selves through their clothing? What would it be? Most common fashion mistakes you see?
Yeah, I think comparison to other people. I think that's a big one. I think comparison and conforming. So constantly comparing what we have to what other people have, whether that's in our body or in our wardrobe. I think also not spending our money wisely, not making conscious decisions of how we're spending and where we're spending. Because I think, you know, you're bombarded with marketing again, you're bombarded with ads, but where are you investing your money? Like, what company is that going into? Are you really thinking about what you're fueling by doing that? And I think also it's just quantity of consumption. I think that needs to drastically change with that as well. I think just being more mindful in our purchases and what we're purchasing. I think that's one of the big mistakes, is feeling like we need to have everything.
Yeah. Actually, like you mentioned, what we invest in clothing, because looking back myself on my life, I feel I have made so many mistakes and I've probably spent so much money that I actually regret. And I wish I had been wiser and, better informed and made better informed decisions, which is why I think the conversation with you today is so important, because we all know the cost of life, is not low, it's only increasing.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's also part of, making the right clothing choices, looking better after your wardrobe. There is nothing wrong with alterations, or repair, especially if you have invested in beautiful clothing, or shopping in charity shops, which is something which is part of the UK culture, isn't it? Being French, that's not really something I grew up with, but I found it here in the UK and actually think that's so good, because you can really find finds, as you mentioned earlier.
Any sites like Vinted, Depop, any resale platforms, eBay, they're great places to go as well. And even if you do want designer pieces and things like that, you'll find them on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to finish, I wanted to ask you also a question again, to really tap into your expertise. So for someone who would just be beginning to explore sustainable fashion, what advice would you offer to help them create a wardrobe that align with their values and personal style? Where do they start? They have never really thought about sustainable fashion before, but they want to give it a go.
Yeah. I think there are certain apps that you can use. There's one called Good On You. So it will give you can type in the brand and you can kind of see their kind of rating. I think that's a really good place to start, because it may be a bit eye-opening for some of the brands that you currently shop at. I think also starting with a list of where you are currently shopping, but doing research. I think research into, like on those sorts of apps, doing your research into the brands that align more with where you want to take your style from a sustainability, ethical kind of viewpoint. I think that's a really good place to start. And then going to the stores, visiting stores rather than online shopping. I think that's a really key thing to do. If you can stop online shopping, actually go and try pieces on, physically feel them, touch them, and take your time on making the decisions. Avoid the impulse buying. So when you do go into a store, if you really love something, but there's something holding you back, listen to that gut kind of instinct, because your gut's never wrong. There might be a reason that you're kind of put off that piece. At the same time, if you really love something and you love the quality of it, and you can also match it with at least 5 other things in your wardrobe, that's probably a good investment. So just thinking about your pieces and how you can repurpose them and use them in new ways, I think is really, really important on that sustainability approach. And then also fabric, looking at your fabrics as well. I would actually advise doing a bit of an analysis of your wardrobe and just look at the labels. How much plastic is within your wardrobe? You'll be pretty shocked as to how much is in there. And if you can move to more natural fibres, that's also a great way to consider your approach to your wardrobe as well.
Yeah. I have to say, sometimes I have to stop myself and oblige myself to look at the label, as you said. Like recently, I saw a beautiful kind of wrap jacket on Alo, which is a very trendy brand, really lovely. Lots of models, influencers, they are all talking about it and wearing it. They just launched this jacket on their website. I saw it, I was like, wow, like the wow factor, and it sold out immediately. So entered my email to receive a notification when it's back in stock. And I think I missed it twice. So they restocked. It went out of stock immediately again. So it's a popular design. And rightly so, because it's really beautiful. And then the next time back in stock, so I was gonna buy it. I was like, actually, I haven't looked at the composition, you know, what material it is. And I looked and it was like 100% polyester. And I was like, oh no,
But that is a big
I didn't
as
buy
well.
it. But I did oblige myself to actually have a look. And perhaps if I had looked the first time round,
You stopped yourself all
I
of
would
it.
have gone for all these upheavals. Which is crazy. Yeah, you know, but it's a type of real life stories that we all experience, isn't it? But yeah, know your materials is a big one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But we're all human at the end of the day. So it's a process and it's a journey. So even if you can make one change at a time, that's okay. You're never gonna, and when you're starting a sustainability approach, don't think that you can overhaul your whole wardrobe all at once, because again, that's not sustainable.
Yeah. I know someone who said the most sustainable wardrobe is the one you have actually in your wardrobe already. So wear it before you make new fashion choices and do your research before you actually do new fashion choices. I love something else you said, Neelam. I just want to go back to it, but I loved when you referred to taking time to go to stores, see what's out there. It made me think of something one of my colleagues in the past said, because I've always researched my clothes and I like looking around. I've always done this, you know, and it's a time investment, but I find especially us girls, we like to do that anyway. So there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you don't fall into the trap of impulse buying trends and do more considered purchases. But yeah, if you do want to actually have a considered wardrobe, you need to invest a little bit of time and see what's around and identify pieces that you like. And then, as you said, actually oblige myself to do this today to not succumb straight away to buying in the moment, but
Sit with it.
sit
Yeah.
with it. Take the time. If 1 week after I'm still into it, because you can actually change your mind really easily and quickly, right? So if 1 week later I still really want it and I think I actually need it, then I buy it.
Yeah.
But I've actually reduced my fashion consumption by a lot just by doing this, which I find it very positive.
Just is, and you know what? Your bank balance will thank you for it as well.
Okay, so before I finish with the last question, is there any other topic I haven't brought up that you would like to bring up?
We've been pretty thorough. I think just actually one thing I would say is have fun. I think sometimes when you go down the sustainability approach, it can feel heavy. I think because the topic is quite heavy and, you know, we're seeing so much going on with the planet. But I think that your personal style and your wardrobe is really a chance for self-expression. So have fun doing it. See it as like a bit of you time, a bit of time to connect to yourself or to share that with friends or family as well. I think that's really important when it comes to your personal style.
Yeah, totally agree. It is true that, you know, because I've been in the impact space for some time and we are talking about serious topics, you know, when you talk of waste, pollution, the impact on people and planet. It can be quite heavy topics, but then, you know, as we are creating a transition from old ways of doing, producing, consuming, nothing prevents us from doing it, as you said, with joy and fun. It's not incompatible at all, is it?
Exactly.
Okay, so Neelam, this podcast is called Shades of Life, with the idea that we each hold the power to paint life with our own colors, to leave a meaningful imprint on the planet. And I know you like color. So I always end the podcast with the same question for the guest. If you were a color, what would it be and why? And it can be anything you want and for any reason you want.
So my favourite colour is orange. I feel like it's a really happy colour. It sits in between red and yellow on the colour wheel. So you have a bit of that fieriness of red, but with that soft happiness of yellow. And it makes for a really beautiful colour that I feel like doesn't get a lot of acknowledgement. You don't often see very much orange within fashion, and I love to add it to my wardrobe, whether that's through a pair of trousers, a colourful top. It also has the ability to make us feel really sociable. So when you're going into sociable settings, orange is a really great colour to wear to help you spark conversation, or for people to like really want to lean into what you're saying. So yeah, orange is a great colour. It's in my branding. I love orange.
Is it? Oh, that's so interesting. I'm actually thinking if I have any piece in orange. I actually don't think I have.
People don't. Most people don't.
Really, really interesting. Yeah. I mean, when I think of you, I think of color. I mean, look at you. Just looking at you makes me happy. So, yeah, no, that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Neelam. I think it was so nice to discuss fashion and sustainability with a different angle today, because we talk a lot about waste, pollution, materials, but it was great to discuss with you how personal styling and our choices in fashion can actually impact this element. So thank you so much for coming to the podcast today and share your recommendations with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, thank you so much.
Perfect. And thank you everyone for watching and listening today. And we will be back with a different guest next week. And don't forget to subscribe below. Thank you. Bye-bye.